Hey everybody, it's your pal Drew Geraci, and I'm back after almost 2 weeks of being away. I just was under the weather, thought I was better, then I got under the weather again. It happens, but thank you for your patience. Okay, these are these are comics from my spinner rack, or ones that I've recently adopted that I'm adding to my spinner rack. Secret Six, number 3. I was always curious about this book. It had a lot of fan buzz of why didn't it last longer, and there were all these experimental titles that came out at the time. Carmen Infantino hired Dick Giordano away from Charlton Comics, and they really got experimental with a lot of stuff. This was a huge letdown, I'll be honest though. The cover though is a total trip. It's like an angle of a guy using a machine gun on the characters, but what an angle! That's so weird. That's almost like a Bill Sienkiewicz kind of drastic thing. I mean, but the faces are dreadful. I really get the feeling this was a book that was rushed because it's issue 3. The book lasts till issue 7 somehow, and but you'll see the beginning is just the art is really wonky. I've done enough comics where they would have the guts of the book's still there, but they would rearrange several pages that were before or after just to improve the product. But I don't think they improved the product here. I think they just kind of tweaked it apart. And E. Nelson Bridwell and Joe Gill, art by Jack Sparling, edited by Dick Giordano. This is kind of neat stuff here. It kind of gives you the first 5-6 pages, tells you who everybody is, which is kind of getting old by issue 3. But, I mean, please, come on. Come on. That's just ridiculous. It's not, I can't quite say what it is, but it's awful. And I hate dumping on Jack Sparling. He's done good stuff before. But this had to be a rush job. Especially DC was far more, clean and professional looking and sharp. More so than Marvel was. I mean, Marvel could afford to have Kirby inked by George Roussos, who would just shit all over it, but still came out as great Kirby. Like this one, her backside and her legs, it's not even finished. I feel like these pages were yanked off the table and put into production. 2000 Space Odyssey, Aurora model. I wonder if they made a remake of those. So it's really just kind of killing time. And you'll notice there's not a lot of backgrounds first. Now this I like because it shows extreme foreground, people getting invading the beach. But a lot of it seems to be avoiding drawing something hard. There are expressions I like this kind of stuff. And Superboy still hasn't yet run into Superman and Darkseid yet. And one of the members, he's pretending to be like this stereotypical Mexican guy, but he's just playing the other guys so he could free them. That is a really weird 2-page spread. Wow. I'm surprised the Comics Code allowed something like that. Something so, I know he's not getting holes shot through him, but it's pretty evident what's going on. This kind of stuff. That's really awkward. Batlash. Can he save the West or ruin it? I hate that tagline. I hate it. Because it's been used so many times on the cover of books, whether it's a character from Marvel Spotlight or Star Wars #1, where it says, is he here to save the universe or destroy it? And Jonah Hex, is he going to save the West? Destroy it? Dumb question. So you're seeing a little more actual things happening. And, the story starts to pick up. It just seemed like the first few pages were just a waste. I like that a lot. It's not, I wouldn't say it's very well done, but it seems to be proportionate. It does suggest a lot of, God, the fleshiness of it's really neat. I like that. That's kind of odd there. kind of odd to like do that and then have this dead air here. I'm not saying you have to have a soliloquy there. I'm just telling you. And you know, perspective be damned. Everyone's flying home. They're happy. Palisades Park. Man, if I lived in New Jersey or somewhere near, I would cut this out and just be thrilled, because back then you could have some entertainment with just a little bit of money. Now you don't need any, because you got me. You got me. Hey, tell your friends. So, the very last Daredevil Marvel Masterworks that just came out half a year ago, and I say the last because they've discontinued the Masterworks program, and it's for a good reason. They're getting really up into like the 80s to where stuff doesn't need to be, the artwork does not have to be painstakingly recreated like it was films from the 1938, 39 era or something. It's, you know, you have epic collections, and a lot of them print up pretty damn good. Not 100%, and then you got the omnibuses. So it was just the price-wise, Marvel Masterworks really wasn't working after a time. It was becoming like diminishing returns. And I would buy a volume. It would be issue 664 out of, you know, 680, and that's how many copies were printed of that variant cover, and then the others would be not that much more. So I skipped this one. I skipped the one that reprints this because I have all the individual issues and they're pretty damn good shape, and I'm not going to spend a hardcover just to replace these. I stopped when the last one had Klaus Janson with a story written by Alan Zenelez, and then several written by Denny O'Neil, and then Larry Hama. And then William Johnson was the next artist, and he was solid. He really was. But in comparison to Frank Miller and then Klaus Janson, that's hard. That's a very hard thing. So I think he moved to another book somewhere. And this young kid, David Mazzucchelli, who nobody knew, came along, and he started off a little rough, and then he really grew. By the time this finished, this story I hated came to a finish. Around issue 202, this guy, Micah Sin, he was he was with a group of colonizers somewhere in Africa that was far away from everybody else. They got lost, and they reverted to being primitives, and they ended up basically having their own fiefdoms being savages. And what happened was, through some happenstance, somebody discovered them from the quote-unquote civilized world and brought him over to New York City, and he became like this curiosity for the ultra-wealthy. Radical chic was the term that Tom Wolfe came up with back in, it was issue of Hulk 142 or so, where they had this dinner gala for the outlaw Hulk, and they were like all around him, you know, preening, and, you know, like, ooh, he's so interesting. And, you know, meanwhile they're pissing him off because he knows he's being, you know, treated like a toy or a pet. And anyway, this guy drinks it up. He loves it. He's really a hateful, mean person. He has two women with him, two concubines, and they see Becky, who is she is the assistant to Murdoch and Nelson in their office, and she's on a wheelchair, and they all started pointing and laughing at her for her infirmity. It was really dark stuff, and I didn't get it at first because he beat Daredevil at least once. And the whole theory is he's got these jungle senses, and he's never been around a lot of other people, especially those who are near strong. And apparently he was like unpredictable in his fighting moves, you know, kind of like a lion would be or so. But he's fought lions, and he's fought a lot of other big, deadly creatures. And I thought, why is he getting his ass kicked by this guy? But this payoff really makes it finally work, because I was getting sick of this guy. I really was. I'm like, Daredevil, what happened, you know? Did you have some Hank Pym's shrinking potion? Micah Sin, you have lied, cheated, murdered. You have libeled my good name, tormented my friends, humiliated those closest to me. You have broken my partner's marriage and turned my city into a battleground. And it is time for reckoning, Micah Sin. Time for retribution. Show yourself. Christine Steele doing the coloring. Beautiful. I love the little red tones. Just touches everywhere. You know, so newsprint can respond. That's what's amazing about it. Turns out there's no one there in this attic jungle area. Foggy Nelson's wife, she fell in love. She basically broke up with Foggy because of the guy's animal magnetism, the Micah Sin, and he was kissing her. He loved her, and then he knocked her to the ground and made her scrub the floor. So she was just out of touch socialite who thought, oh well, he's just a big cuddly bear. And it turns out, she says, he humiliated me to death. It made me work like a slave. It was awful. So yeah, he's a monster on the road, but nobody can find him right now. As Kelly doing all the inks himself, and Christine Steele is a great color. I've contended that women colorists are better mostly than men because they get out more often. It's like I always sing the praises of Glennis Ween and also Laura Martin in the modern age. So this guy, he pulls has his driver pull him over, Micah Sin. The African dude looks like food. I'm hungry. What are you shoving? And notice he's got a bit of a paunch. So he's used to just taking what he wants, and people stand back. Well, he gets knocked down twice by this one guy. And he says, hey, when he first got here, I see him take out 3 cops. Well, you know, New York is too much on, man. Gonna rain. Love that. And basically, the Kingpin's interested in getting rid of... another thing that tears him down. Goes back to the driver. Automobile gone. Where? So, unlike Daredevil, who was raised on the streets, Micah Sin is not. Who doesn't love monotone flashbacks? Or duotone? And there we got these hobos are having a fire. You know, they're all broke and just eating whatever chow they can. This guy, Micah Sin, shows up. They see his jewelry. Is that real gold? They knock him out. Get ready to take it. Pretty good. He wants Micah Sin to face justice, not just... He thinks dying would be too easy for this scumbag. Nice Zipatone effect on the background as well as the jar full of gasoline. Yeah, but Mazzucchelli really like... You know, Born Again is like a year later, and he just really blows everybody else away. Your turn, Sin. Do you want to face me or do I come after you? Decide. Look at the dry brush clouds. Oh, I love that kind of stuff. Hashtag bring back inking in comics by hand. So, well, later Daredevil will realize what happened. He realized that the change from the harshest poverty of Micah Sin's African home to the abundance in New York City was too much. Different food, different air, different lifestyle, different excess in everything. It was all bad. A lot of it. Too much. But that will be later. At the moment, he does not even try to understand. He merely waits, feeling a chill that seems to come from his center of his spine. And he hears a voice that is cold and frail and full of terror. Help me. How about that? Huh? Listen to me. It's Knighthawk with a K. Not to be confused with Marvel's Knighthawk for the Defenders, who had really been out of circulation for like a decade before this. So it's Neil Adams, but it's not Continuity Comics. It's Windjammer, which is a Creator Road imprint from Valiant Comics, which became Acclaim Comics at this point. And part of me's thinking, it's like, oh, Neil's probably loving this. He doesn't have to pay a cent in production like he usually does. See, this is when, you know, Valiant was getting the makeover. Acclaim had bought them. Really cool stuff. nothing frightfully original, but it is great art. You have the typical, like, you know, monologue of a superhero crashes in. Really great stuff here. I couldn't find any credits. And I know, you know, Neil has a legion of artists working on different things to good, you know, to good effect. I'm here to shut you down, but I run an orphanage. What good liar? Turns out she's a trafficker. That's why the children are there. This guy, he's from the paper, Megalith. It's not Megalith, you idiots. It's some vigilante with a death wish. Kill him. So, here come the 90s. Bringing on the 90s. It's like, oh, well, I gotta create these guns. I think Spawn had the same power, didn't he? Like, do a lot of stuff like that. So this is basically a Spawn without the supernatural aspect as far as he's still alive. He just has some kind of maybe nanotech or something before that became a word everywhere. The coloring and the art is beautiful. So he goes to rescue these children. Really nice line work. I wonder who did that. Now, what really gets me is this last panel with the eye, the big eye. I know he worked with Michael Golden a bit when Michael Golden was doing Bucky O'Hare with Larry Hama and stuff like that. And as much as an influence Neil Adams is on others, he also is not above, you know, checking out others for influences. And I kind of think that's a Michael Golden influenced eye. I don't think he did it, but it's just saying. Jurgens. Look at this great storyline going on. Storytelling. Despite the wild panels, it's very easy to read. There's a money shot for you. Another one. Another 2-pager of Knighthawk. Some of this puts me like in the Filipinos, thinking like the Filipino artists, because some of the drop-offs on the ink lines here make me think that. I love that pose. That's a totally weird pose. It's like, oh, I got a call. Excuse me. Blammo. Like the rendering on the face there. Puts me in mind like what Jim Sharman did way back when. He's in his gutchies, hanging out, trying to take a nap. Now this, I would bet money that this, the folds on the clothes of this woman, maybe the entire figure, is probably Rudy Nebres. It has a real strong Rudy Nebres feel to it. And he had done a lot of work for Neil, you know, in the past decade or so. And wow. Woo-wee. That's another, a lot of 2-page spreads, but they all pay, they're payoffs. And I love the coloring inside. Coloring 101, okay, everybody? You don't need to have lens flares and, you know, make rocks look like metal. You don't have to have reflections off every piece of metal. You know, you don't have to kill. You know, it's just right. You know, it's a duochrome, and by that I mean it's just, or maybe it's just a monochrome used with different colors. And I can't say it. I've been away from art school too long. I can think it, but I cannot explain it. That's right. So that's where it ends. Good ending, though. Good, you know. Makes me almost want to find the second issue. So, Fantastic Four. I dropped the book about 6 months earlier because I just, at the time, I only had a budget for like 5 books a month, and this just was starting to go a little off the rails. But I got this recently for $1. I decided to read it. Double-sized issue. Steve Englehart and Keith Pollard. 100 issues, over 100 issues after he was last on Fantastic Four, and he's lost nothing. It's just like he picked up as if it were 1978 or 79. Joe Sennett, Lenny B. Workman. Maybe John Workman has a sibling or family member. But really amazing stuff. I mean, I would argue that Keith Pollard is in the same, could be used in the same sentences like John Buscema and the others, because his stuff is a John Buscema style. and in all the possible ways as far as getting drama. The previous issue, it's kind of wonky. The FF came back from a trip to the moon. Pardon me. And what happened was they had plans to go to the negative zone. It's not quite clear. I looked it up on Fandom Wiki and no luck. But turns out that that's where Dr. Doom wanted to go too. So he shows up at Lisa Master's studio apartment, and he wants to meet the FF, and she has this warm and fuzzy sense saying, I don't think he's evil. So they both go to the lobby, and they run into each other, and there's almost a fight, but Dr. Doom ends up using something called a time bomb, or not a time bomb, some kind of bomb where he's like 2 minutes out of step of everyone else. Like they try and reach him, he's not where that he's supposed to be, and he sneaks into the negative zone, and he's going to get the Beyonder because he found out the Beyonder's in there, and he wants that power back that he got in Secret Wars 10 or something like that. And so the FF had planned to go there anyway, so they catch up with him, and then they finally all go to the negative zone because they won't be able to figure out how to get out without Doom. It's a real weird. I've read it several times, and I kind of scratched my head, but then I realized, it's comics, okay. And what happens is, they go after Doom. He's in the negative zone. But they're going after him. They start to catch up to him, but he's attacked by Blastar, who also has his own ship, and Blastar attacks the FF. Doom saves him, so now they're all, on the same space bus. It's kind of thin. I mean, Alicia's sweet and all, but I don't think she'd be that easygoing to think oh, that Doom, he's just you know how he gets. So amazing visuals. Keith Pollard's a genius. He never gets his praise that he deserves. Yonder, hear me. This is Dr. Doom. You're all dead. He's the son. And he puts on a cool jazzy thing. I always wondered if the things that I always wondered if he'd be cool if he had speakers on each side of him and he would blast his tunes while he's fighting and kicking ass. So and this is the pineapple thing. A lot of people criticize the pineapple thing, but it was interesting because every time the thing would change back to Ben Grimm or Thing or whatever, he would always turn back one of the two ways, or even the early version that John Byrne had brought back since issue 4 when he did when he started taking over the book, and then Ms. Marvel became She-Thing, do. So it gets into this stuff, and it's okay. There's a lot of yeah. You really have to start going for it. Then here it comes for the first time in a long time. Owen Reese, a.k.a. the Molecule Man. And the Shaper. It is an interesting read, but I'm not going to reread this thing again. So, he basically becomes a cosmic cube because Cubic and Shaper of Worlds know how to do these sort of things. So, Dr. Doom's whole purpose was he wanted to be whole in his original body. Back when Dr. Doom fought, what was it? Not Tyrex, but Tyros, who basically blew up his form, but he used this power from the Ovoids back in issue 16 or something of Fantastic Four, where he traded bodies with another guy, but did not have his body, didn't change his body. He wanted his original, beautiful body with the scars and all that shit. So he feels complete. Also because his brain, the brain he took over, was not his brain, so there might be limitations that his original brain wouldn't have. Ooh, am I making excuses for Dr. Doom? He's a dick, I know, but that's, So they're trying to make one wish. He's like, wait, I got a wish. I got a wish for universal peace. Nuts, they're gone. Our business is concluded, It's like, get over here, son, you dick. So, next issue. How about that? I covered this on another episode, so you'll have to check out find out later. But how about that? And that's 5 comics from my spinner rack. Thanks for hanging in there. I guess I have a little more piss and vinegar in me than I had in a while. Whoa. I don't need that. Ugh, what a mess. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you all later, and have a great day.